And here this evening on this Friday night, the war in Iran driving up gas prices and sending Wall Street on a downward spiral again. Hello, everybody. It's our top story tonight. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. Today, the latest jobs report showing a weak job market, adding more pain to the economy. ABC's Melissa Adon explains how Americans are feeling the economic impact as the war nears 1 week.
As the war in the Middle East escalates, the tension is growing on America's economy. Today, the latest jobs report adding a strain on the labor market after 92,000 jobs were cut last month and the unemployment rate ticked up to 4.4%.
I have to think, do I buy this extra toy for my son?
Analysts warn the current situation aggravates the ongoing affordability challenge facing many Americans.
There is a risk that inflation goes from too high to even higher.
A prolonged conflict could keep energy prices high. This as the Strait of Hormuz is blocked as Iran threatens ships from the U.S., Israeli, European, and Western allies that take the vital passageway.
The longer crude oil prices stay higher, the longer gasoline prices stay higher, those are going to filter on through the economy because we're reliant on transportation for so many things, and that hurts consumers.
The war rattling markets, upending supply chains, and prices at the pump keep growing.
Whatever's going on, it costs a lot to do.
The national average for a gallon of gas climbing to $3.30. In just 7 days, prices surging by 32 cents per gallon.
If I have to suffer a little bit, I guess I'm going to have to suffer a little bit because there's a lot of people suffering that are in a worse situation.
The Trump administration announcing it will allow India to buy some Russian oil. This part of a temporary strategy to boost global supply and bring down surging prices. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
So let's right now take a look at gas prices in Kentucky and Indiana. How are they comparing at the moment? As you can see in red on your screen, Indiana's average right now $3.29 per gallon of unleaded, while Kentucky is sitting at just under $3. Indiana is up more than 40 cents since this time last week, prior to the start of the war on Saturday of last week. And in Kentucky, the average is up 35% since last week as well.
WHAS11 will continue following the joint attack on Iran as it develops. The best way to stay up to date with the latest updates is to download our WHAS11 app. You can download it for free right now from your smartphone's app store.
Everybody wanted warmer weather, but this was hot today. And, you know, we were all focused on an 80 that was on the forecast. I bet it got over 80 degrees today. Connie, what do you think?
I didn't find it hot. I thought it was fine.
Too hot.
There were a lot of kids, though, this morning at the bus stop I saw, Mallory, that had shorts on.
Shorts. And today was actually a good day where they could wear shorts, right?
Yeah.
Not the 40-degree weather where they're in shorts and a hoodie. But yes, 82 degrees. That is what we reached here in Louisville. That is a new daily record. The previous record was 78 degrees set back on this date in 2023. And our low this morning was actually warmer than our average high. So we had a higher jumping off point with a low temperature of 58 degrees. We've been enjoying the sunshine. Temperatures are about 20 degrees warmer than this time yesterday in Louisville. Max HG radar, very quiet compared to the last couple of days. So we are getting a dry break before more storms roll in for tomorrow. Max HG radar showing maybe a few little blips down to the south and southwest. So we can't rule out an isolated shower or thunder shower this evening and tonight. But most of us are looking to stay muggy, warm, breezy under partly cloudy skies. Temperatures will drop back into the 70s and will only dip down into the 60s. We're really not going to cool off all too much overnight ahead of the next line of showers and storms that will roll in tomorrow. Best time frame is really mid-morning through early afternoon for a few strong storms along that leading edge. We're looking at some heavy rainfall, gusty winds. So, of course, this is the time of year where we start to have outdoor plans. Make sure you have a way to check radar and stay weather aware. A great tool to have, of course, is the WHAS11 app. If you take a photo of your screen right here, that QR code, that will take you to our app store, and you can download it right there on your phone. But we'll take you hour by hour for the storm chances tomorrow and talk about more pleasant weather on Sunday. That's coming up in our extended forecast.
Thank you, Mallory. Well, people and businesses have more open access to spots along Grade Lane 4 months after the UPS plane crash. And new tonight, Louisville Metro announcing that they've rolled back the checkpoint once again. Here's a look at Grade Lane today. The section between Crittenden Drive and Knopp Avenue is still closed as construction on the rebuilding continues. One of those businesses now accessible is the Stooges Bar and Grill. And our Conroy Deluge talked with the bar's owner as the contractor prepares to restore the building.
For more than 40 years,
I got up every day and went to work.
Stooges Bar and Grill has been a mainstay on Grade Lane and a home for Debbie Self.
I mean, we built it from the ground up.
But since November 4th, 2025,
I don't even like coming here no more.
time has remained frozen inside Stooges, a place full of life for 22 hours a day.
It's been rough. I never dreamed it would be like this.
Reminders of November 2025 line the walls, a Friday night fight watch party that never happened. U of L's home basketball schedule has come and gone. Even the Tuesday night specials are still on the board.
Yep, everything's just like it was.
But next week, Self says the restoration of the business will begin.
You know, you don't want to just see it go up in smoke like it has, and, you know, if you want to see it keep going.
She says Stooges is her husband's legacy and hopes to pass this on one day. But at 76 years old, starting over is daunting.
I mean, I did this when I was in my early 30s, and now I got to start it again. It's a big task.
As she begins the next step, there remain sobering reminders of the destruction that surrounded the bar.
You know, they're grieving, and 15 people. And, you know, my problem seems small compared to their problem.
Once the bar is restored, Self says the next question is, who does she hire? Before the crash, she had 44 employees. Right now, she has 0. In Louisville, Conroy Deluge, WHAS11, on your side.
Well, Self is one of the parties involved in a class action lawsuit filed against UPS, Boeing, and GE related to the crash. By the way, we did contact UPS today. They released a statement saying they can't comment on pending litigation, but are deeply saddened by those impacted by the fatal crash and that they remain supportive of the NTSB investigation. Right here, new tonight at 5 in more local news. A person is in the hospital after a house fire that happened today near Cedar Creek. Crews arriving just after 1:20 on Rocky Road. One person taken to the hospital after this fire. Fern Creek Fire Department and EMS, along with the Okolona Fire and Fairdale Fire Departments responded. Crews rescued a family's pet by using an oxygen mask made specifically for pets. They say it took 25 firefighters within 20 minutes to bring it under control, and firefighters are still searching for the cause there in Cedar Creek. Some good news for JCPS High School. The Moore High Science Building is officially back open after a fire heavily damaged it last August. And you can see some of that damage on your screen. Majority, we're going to show it to you in a minute, tools like stethoscopes, mannequins, beds, and personal proactive equipment were all destroyed in the flames. Authorities later determined the fire was intentionally set. Flash forward to what you're looking at now. Take a look at this. Students officially back to learning in the building after having spent almost the last year in temporary learning spaces. Some of the students in Moore's pre-nursing pathway had never even been in a lab until these new renovations were complete.
Even though something tragic has happened, they have worked so hard, and this year when we certify these students, it's going to show, and they haven't stopped practicing. They haven't stopped anything this year because of this tragedy.
Well, most of the supplies in the new science building were donated by a variety of partners like other JCPS schools, Spalding University, and other individuals in the community. Tonight, a new Kentucky bill is aiming to put some guardrails up on sports gambling in the state of Kentucky. The House bill introduced by two Republican representatives would allow the Kentucky Horse Racing and Gaming Commission to do several things. It includes establishing licensing requirements for a fantasy contest operator, changing the age of access to sports wagering from 18 years old to 21 years old, and banning prop bets on individual college players on Kentucky teams. This change would also require a fantasy contest operator to be at least 21 years old if this were to go into effect. 6 years ago, our lives were changed forever as the world faced a new threat with the COVID pandemic.
Today, hard to believe, marks 6 years since the very first COVID-19 case was confirmed in Lexington in March of 2020. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear today posting a video statement about that time.
At the time, there was so much fear and uncertainty. But despite everything, we worked together to keep each other informed, to keep each other safe, and to uplift our neighbors.
Beshear also said no matter the challenge, we can now always remember we'll get through this, and we'll get through this together. Straight ahead, new files released once again in the case of the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, this time with interviews directly implicating President Donald Trump. But were they corroborated? That story right after this.
Here's a look at today's Kentucky Lottery jackpots. Mega Millions, $496 million. Powerball, $35 million.
The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students.